Welcome back, Patriots, to the Bald Brad Show. It is officially Tuesday, February 25th, and Donald Trump is still, by far, not even close, the best president in American history. Patriots, it's good to see all of you in the live chat. If you're new here, welcome. As you can see, we do a morning show each and every day, weekdays, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And well, we're going to jump right into the news because there's a lot of it. And I hate to say it, but we were right. Remember that conspiracy theory we were floating around for a while going, why is it taking so long to get Kash Patel in? Why does it take a month to get the guy in? Could it be that the FBI is getting rid of documents? Could it be that they are burning it, shredding it, deleting it? And I even made the joke, hey, maybe they're using bleach bit and getting hammers out like Hillary Clinton's team and removing stuff left and right. Well, Patriots, I hate to tell you, but when you watch the show, you're usually a week to a year ahead of the news cycle. Because as of 3 hours ago, a whistleblower has come out from the FBI. And as you could see, a recent social media post has circulated, claimed by a whistleblower, stating that the FBI is actively destroying evidence specifically related to Jeffrey Epstein. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi is reportedly reviewing files linked to Epstein, and there is public and political pressure for transparency regarding these and other high-profile cases. Quite frankly, I'm not exactly sure what the hell she's reviewing. It's already, in my mind, been reviewed. Just release it. If anything, I'm not going to be happy if you go, well, I don't think this should be allowed, yada, yada, yada. Nuh-uh. I want it all released, like yesterday. So I'm not happy with the timeline here, but today would be a great day to release the Epstein list unredacted. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it would be. Hey, Pam Bondi, I know you're busy with day-to-day responsibilities within the DOJ, but American people deserve to see who's on the Epstein client list. Yes. Pam, why is it taking so long? And I think we all want to know what's on the list. I think we would like to know if they're shredding documents, getting rid of stuff off the servers. I would like to know that as well. And I think we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, the brass tacks of it all, because as you saw, the breaking news Sunday evening into Monday morning was that Dan Bongino is back into the mix here as a civil servant for the FBI and the American people. And the media are not happy about it. And the media, along with the Democrat Party, are imploding right now. And what you're about to see is just the craziness of CBS here on what they're saying about Dan Bongino. The guy was a cop. He's not an idiot. He has like 2 master's degrees. He was also a Secret Service agent, and he led the Secret Service. Now, he wasn't the director of Secret Service. He almost was. But watch what they say about him. And what you're seeing in real time is the collapse of the Democrat Party, and they're being upheld basically like the God Atlas by the media. And they're being held up and shouldered up by this puppet narrative that the Democrat Party is still some way, shape, or form a normal party, uncorrupted party, which we all know is a bunch of bogus. There's a reason why it's mainly Democrats right now that are screaming to the skies about what Elon Musk is doing. There's a reason why the Democrat Party is freaking out about Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and Dan Bongino, because they realize that the deep state, the bureaucracy is effed. They realize that they're about to be exposed, and they don't know what to do right now. And so they're going left and right, up and down, all over the place, trying to figure out what's the narrative, what do we do, how do we fix this, how do we combat it? You can't. Check this out.
Hiring to the hiring, the president has chosen another supporter in the media for a key position. Dan Bongino will be deputy director of the FBI. No Senate confirmation necessary.
Neither, apparently, is FBI experience. Bongino, a former Secret Service agent and New York City police officer, never worked for the Bureau. Scott.
Never worked for the Bureau. Who cares? The guy was a cop. He was a Secret Service agent, which is basically just another cop security detail. And he's going into the FBI, which, by the way, is just basically a cop.
Farland has more about him.
Dan Bongino touts his army of followers, millions of talk radio and podcast listeners who share his devotion to President Trump, his conspiracy theories about the 2020 election, and his pledge to own the libs.
I tell you right now, it might not be a conspiracy theory once this guy uncovers it. You think this guy had conspiracy theories? Well, we're about to find out real quick if they were right or wrong. We're going to find out about the pipe bombs that were outside the RNC and the DNC and just miraculously were found within like 12 minutes of each other on just miraculously like 5 minutes after people started going into the Capitol. Just the timing of it just so happens to be remarkable. We're going to figure out a lot of stuff here, folks. On top of the fact, were there FBI agents in the crowd on January 6th? All the stuff he was touting? Yes, sir. We're going to find out real quick.
Every kooky, lunatic, anti-Trump, swampy, media, left-wing, progressive, AOC, Bernie Sanders type crazy person loses her. Oh my God, taking over the world, isn't it?
Bongino confirmed today he's training his army for G-men.
I'm committed to service.
Neither Bongino nor the new bureau director, Kash Patel, have ever served in the FBI, and both are MAGA loyalists who critics worry threaten an independent FBI. Bongino's new...
Now they're all concerned about an independent FBI. Now they're concerned about it. All of a sudden, remarkable how basically they were being utilized by Joe Biden and the Democrat Party to go after political opponents, while they were utilized by an entire government apparatus. They weren't separate. Give me a break. But now they're concerned, right? The reason why they're concerned is because the party's falling apart, the Democrat Party. It's unfolding. It's being toppled down by Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has taken the sole of his big feet and just stepping on him and saying, ooh.
Position was announced just hours after an association of current FBI agents said it asked Patel to ensure an active special agent would get the post.
Oh, God.
As has been the case for 117 years.
You want some.
I always hate how they say stuff like that. Well, because it's been the case for 200 years, we might as well keep going with it. Remember, the Democrats are supposed to be progressive. They're supposed to be changing. They're supposed to be moving forward.
Someone who can build faith. Instead, he's chosen someone who is really a radical, a conspiracy theorist.
Greg Nunziata is a former aide to then Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio.
I got a point to make here.
Conspiracy theorist.
Greg
I don't trust a guy that walks like that and can't find the suit that fits correctly.
Nunziata is a former aide to then Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio.
You're going to
Nobody
see
walks like that.
Career professionals leaving.
You think there'll be resignations because of this?
No, I do think it'll lead to that. It'll be harder to recruit and attract the kind of people that the FBI requires.
Bongino steps into the Bureau amid turmoil, with agents who worked January 6th cases now under scrutiny themselves.
If you swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States as an FBI agent and engaged in a tyrannical investigation against Donald Trump with partisan intent and not the Constitution in mind, you do not deserve your job.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Dan is going to come out blazing. Just smacking the crap out of these libs. Jason Tarbox, thank you so much. Shit's about to get real. Lock him up. Oh, yeah. USA, US. Couldn't agree with you more, sir. Thank you so much for the $5 over at Rumble. Dan's in the mix, and we can cash my down. But as I mentioned, as you saw, folks, possibly getting rid of and deleting documents. So there's that there as well. Who knows? Government's always acting shady and acting like a little bee. But hopefully we get things cleaned up here with Dan and Cash. Again, it's good to see a lot of new names in the chat, which is greatly appreciated. If you're new here, please let us know. Even if you've been here for a month and you haven't said much in the chat, let us know so we can give you a shout out over there on Rumble, YouTube, and X as well. Other news here, Pete Hegseth just completely just gives the people's elbow onto the reporter and the media in a brutal exchange over unqualified question. Hegseth wasn't having it, and he came out blazing, and it didn't take long right here. The man knew what's up.
Mr. Secretary, why did you select an underqualified retired lieutenant general to be the next chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? Given that,
I'm going to choose to reject your unqualified question.
That's all it takes. Mr. Secretary, why did you select an underqualified retired lieutenant general to be the next chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? Hegseth, I'm going to choose to reject your unqualified question. Yeah, baby. It's simple. You throw it back in their faces, and that's what you get. And they don't like it. They don't know how to deal with that. And how do you deal with that, by the way? The media don't know how to deal with Pete Hegseth. They don't know how to deal with anybody that's associated with Trump, let alone Trump himself. They don't know how to deal with Dan Bongino. They don't know how to deal with Kash Patel. They don't know how to deal with Caroline Leavitt. They don't know how to deal with Pam Bondi. They don't know how to deal with anybody in the Trump administration, because finally people are out with truth. And when you combat truth, it's extremely difficult. And when you're having a bunch of lies, it's really easy to take that truth and just smack the crap out of those that want to continue to promulgate a bunch of lies. And what's amazing is, you would think after all these years of their ratings plummeting, you know, nobody likes the Democrats. They don't even have an agenda. They don't have a narrative. They don't have anything right now. They don't know what to do. That you would think that maybe you would change your tune, that you would adjust, you would adapt, you would change, being the progressive people, into something that might formulate into what the country's supposed to be and what the old Democratic Party was originally. Nope, they don't want to do that. So when they start losing their ratings, they're in shock and bewilderment, like we saw from Joy Reid. Now, she's doing still her rounds right now of going on people's shows, saying that, you know, oh, they're racist for getting rid of me because it's Black History Month. No, Joy, that's just how bad you are, where you suck so bad. Your ratings are so terrible that they fired a Black person during Black History Month because they couldn't take it anymore. Your lies, your racist rhetoric, the crap that you spew, which you have every right to do so, which makes us have every right to do it here on our platforms, is call your idiotic crap out. We've always said the color of your skin has nothing to do with anything. But for some reason, your party, since its establishment, has always been about race, and you've never deviated away from it. You may have physically deviated away from it, from not doing physical slavery, but still that ideology, that narrative that keeps people actually oppressed, and it keeps them oppressed through the form of actually putting in regulations and laws, and also a government that treats it as baby daddy. That's what keeps people oppressed. When you give people the freedom to be able to work within the market that's being provided, well, now you're given opportunities, and it's what you do with those opportunities individually, Joy, that allows you to be successful or not successful. It has nothing to do with your race. Now, you'll continue to promulgate that narrative because it's been working for you for so long, but not up till recent time, when Donald Trump in 2016 called out the fake news media and really opened up the eyes to, yeah, why is it all these legacy media outlets have the same narrative? Why is it they're all saying legitimately the exact same thing with the exact same script? Why is it they don't really hold my values anymore? How come they're fabricating lies? How long have they been doing it for? And now we're all woken up to it. Now we're all woken up to the fact that they lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. They lied about Joey receiving millions of dollars from the Chinese, the Russian, Ukrainians. They lied about this. They lied about that. And they've been doing it for quite some time, and now it's out. So when we call them out on it and they get fired, well, all of a sudden, it's racist, it's this or that. So here she is, balling up a storm and acting a little like,
I have to say, my heart is so full that I hope I can get through this. I want to thank you, Joteka. And I will say our SOAR president literally called me from as she was taxiing on the plane to say that she was flying back from California. And it was just overwhelming to receive that call. Khalil, all of those who have been on the phones with me, and Angie Rye, who has been essentially babysitting me and taking care of me, and Tiffany Cross has been doing the same.
Do you think her wig collection is as big as her book collection? You know, she hasn't read any of those. Give me a break. There's no way you're reading all that and this is that empty.
Husband is on this call, who's also been doing the same. Mignon Moore, who, you know, my counselor, who's been so great, so kind to just always give me advice. Obviously, Joteka, you are just everything. Holly, who I've been bugging and harassing, who's been making all the technical. I can't even name everyone. Everyone, you all know that you are valuable, you are wonderful, and you know, I hope I haven't missed anyone. It's just my heart is so full. I'm trying to get through it, but everyone who took the time on a Sunday when it was not a regular call to get on this call, I can't even begin. As you can imagine, I have been through every emotion over the past several days. Tasha knows, she's been on the calls with me for some of them. You know, Angela surely knows. Carrie Champion's been on with me. Alicia Garza. Like, I've just been talking to.
Okay, I can't take it enough. She ends up starting bawling, crying a little bit here or there, but you get the gist of it. So she goes that she's been through every emotion, right? She's been through it all. People are tired of it. People are really tired of it. She apologized. Reid apologized then for getting emotional, saying that sometimes the instinct was to feel guilt, that she went hard on issues that she'd believed were important. Whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted and not just black folks, she explained that, or we went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and to make a life and defend them. Do you notice how she circumvents certain vocabulary and certain words? For example, whether it was Black Lives Matter issues. Yeah, but when we raise the issue about Black Lives Matter wanting to remove the nuclear family and making sure we keep fathers in the household so kids are actually raised appropriately and in the right way and in shape or form statistically so they don't actually go to jail and do certain things. And this isn't just about Black Lives Matter, it's about everybody. Yeah, it kind of raises problems for all of us. And when we push back on it, all of a sudden we're racist. When we say, hey, you know, why was it Black Lives Matter in conjunction with Antifa burned down businesses and entire cities? Why wasn't anybody prosecuted? But all of a sudden you're a racist and a bigot for even posing those types of questions. Furthermore, you notice that she's targeting Asian Americans. You want to know what was the biggest target for Asian Americans? Affirmative action. The fact that they had to score drastically higher than whites and blacks on the SAT and ACT to get into the same universities is ridiculous. You treated them poorly, and especially Black Lives Matter. So don't give me this crap of, well, Asian people, you know, Asian people, that you didn't want to talk about that, even though the affirmative action would uplift black people and people of color, but you'd ultimately diminish Asian people. Furthermore, she has this, oh, we went hard for immigrants who've done nothing. Well, illegal immigrants have done something. There's illegal immigrants here that are terrorists, Joy. There's illegal immigrants here that have raped people and murdered people and actually slaughtered people and sex trafficked children. Yeah, it's your party, Joy, meaning more specifically the progressive part of the Democrat Party, to be specific, because they're going to come at me going, you're alienating half the country. No, I'm alienating those that are progressive lefties, the psychos that want to lop your kids' genitals off and all that other stuff, and want to allow illegal immigrants to run roughshod over your cities, localities, your states, everything. That I got a problem with. So yeah, they've done something. They've siphoned our money. They took taxpayer dollars. They sent some of that money back home, so much so that it actually inflated certain localities in other countries because they were sending so much American tax dollars back that it caused housing prices to go through the roof. But they just came normal, you guys. Yeah, just like her parents. So were her parents illegal immigrants? That's what I want to know. We can ask questions like that because you get in trouble. People get upset. And I like to point out what you're hearing right now from the media and the Democrat Party. It seems like everybody's being hysterical over all this stuff. The vast majority of Americans love what Donald Trump is doing. Remember, the vast majority of Americans voted for Donald Trump. Donald Trump got the popular vote. Donald Trump got the electoral vote. Donald Trump's in the White House. And Americans still, by poll numbers, approve of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has never had these high of poll numbers and approval ratings. People want to see a lot of change, and they're getting it really quick. But they don't know what to do in the media. So what are they doing? They're firing people, like you saw with Joy Reid. And they're trying to figure out, well, who do we replace her with? Well, Jen Psaki's coming out on top of MSNBC shakeup as network axes shows by 3 more lefty anchors. So I go, hey, you know what? Maybe people will like Jen Psaki more. No, this is how dumb they are. Now, to be fair with MSNBC, they have come out as a progressive leftist outlet. They're not right-wing. They're not even centrist. They're not even Democrat. They are left. So you got to give them credit where credit is due. At least they're open about it. But they think that she's going to solve their issues. It has nothing to do with the loss of money, folks. It will for a short time. And then they'll make it seem like it's a change because everybody's going to tune into the new person, right? Oh, look at the new time slot. Look at the new show. Let's check it out for a bit. And then they realize that it's just as empty-headed as it was from any other progressive lefty that was running it, that they're not actually getting the truth. They're not really getting the news. They're just being manipulated. Well, at some point, it really is going to drop off. And then you're going to get more viewers through Nick at Night on Nickelodeon. That's an off channel that you have to have cable for and pay a subscription for than you would actually getting MSNBC. Nobody believes their lies anymore. Donald Trump gave them the boot straight to the jaw, and now they're crippled. They're falling apart, that's why it's the title of our show. The Democrat Party is imploding. Donors are leaving. They're siphoning their money away, or they're freezing it because they're waiting to see, is the Democrat Party going to come back? Are they actually going to go more center rather than continue to go further left? Are they going to stop transing the kids? Are they going to stop going after our children? It's a losing issue for them. If they think that them as the Democrat Party and the progressive left know better than the actual parents do, you will lose that vote every single time. The parents usually know what's best for their child. And I say usually, right? Because there's those extreme circumstances where the people are crazy and then, they assault their kids like the progressive left. They lop off their genitals, weird stuff. Mind you, it's not just me that sees it. I mean, Bill Maher sees it himself. And he urges Democrats to stop supporting this trans agenda. It's a losing issue. And I don't know why on God's green earth they think this is a winning issue for them. Oh, I guess I do know. Well, they're knuckleheads and they're blind to the fact that it's psycho to go after people's kids. And I don't know what it is with that party wanting to constantly go after them.
I think in most of America, they did that in schools. I don't. But I think in enough of them, in enough far left places, they did constantly have this idea in the minds of children that maybe you're not in the right body. I mean, the New England Journal of Medicine advocated for taking sex off of a birth certificate, I believe. It was like you're assigned sex at
assigned sex at birth. Yeah.
You're assigned.
I think that's right.
I was assigned it by my dick, okay, when I was born. Yes, and again, to tell kids it doesn't always have to be and isn't always the default setting, but that's a different mentality than they put in the minds of kids. And that's why this debate goes on. And the fact that you think, or a lot of people on the left think that even if you just have this debate, it makes you a bigot. You just have to roll over. You asked about the Biden administration. That was their position. If you even question this, you're some sort of a bigot. And this is new science, and it has to do with children. And it's not going to look good in the future, that position.
Can I just respond to something?
Now you can.
Now I can respond? All right. Can you just...
This is Pod Save America, which is a leftist podcast, by the way.
All right, let's just
there's
a lot. You definitely said your piece.
Just say your bullshit while I'm in the bathroom.
Just stay for 1 second.
Okay, I'm kidding.
Unbelievable.
I'm kidding.
All right, no, I know. Okay, a lot of things there. First of
all, oh, thank God the Lord knew. He's like, I can't subject the Bald Brad army to this.
No, things there. First of
all, hold on, let me fix it. I actually want to hear what he has to say. I haven't listened to it, but I do want to know. Here we go.
Oof. This is going to sound confrontational. For a long time, people said, older gay people are recruiting kids to be gay. And they wouldn't really be gay. They were being recruited, they were being groomed, that they were being drawn. That was their conservative position. The Christian right position for a long time was the reason you didn't want to have gay teachers is they're going to recruit. That the gay lifestyle is going to look so enticing and so exciting that it's going to bring these poor defenseless boys, they mostly boys, into the gay lifestyle and destroy their lives. But of course, that wasn't true. Really,
you want to know what's crazy? It actually is true. What they were doing, and this was exposed on high school, middle school campuses, and we've talked about this at length, so much so that we were highlighted on Project Veritas in a positive light, where what they were doing, and a lot of people are unaware of this, and I would check to see if your school is doing this, by the way, because they might not be aware of it. What they were doing, and still are in some cases around the country, is they were implementing these LGBTQ clubs after school. And sometimes they were on the rolls, meaning the administration knew about it, and other times it didn't, or it was under a code name. And so say you had a person whose family really gender affirmed them, it's LGBTQ, a trans person, doesn't matter what it is. And then they have a friend that's straight. What they were doing was bringing that straight friend into these clubs that were sometimes undocumented. And what I mean by that is they didn't actually register the club itself, or the club was like a baking club and it ended up being actually an LGBTQ front and pushing some ideology upon these innocent children. And sometimes they would perform drag shows and stuff for them, and the administration would never know about it. Sometimes they would, and the administration would cover it up. They were, in fact, doing this. That's the crazy thing. This dude's acting like, oh, it never happened. Oh, yes, it did. And by the way, we know it because we uncovered it.
All gay teachers were an example.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Look, there are a few examples of people getting older and realizing that they shouldn't have transitioned. That happens. It's real. That's real.
Yeah, more than a few.
But there are also really important surgeries that people get for their heart, and they go wrong, and somebody dies. And nobody says we must stop the cardiologists. No one says we must stop the surgeons. We say, let's...
That's your analogy?
Well, my analogy is only that... wait, let me finish.
I'm just...
Can I finish?
Yes.
Is it my turn to talk?
No, you're right.
I want you can finish it yourself. It goes on for another 2.5 minutes, but I want you to see how crazy it is that what they do is they try to rationalize giving surgeries to adolescent kids, to children, and lopping off their genitals and giving them hormone enhancers and puberty blockers to the point where that some of that stuff is not reversible later on. Some of it is, obviously you cutting off your pee-pee isn't, but then they go, oh, well, people get heart surgery and it goes wrong. It's a little bit different than you cutting off something that's fully functional because you think you're something that you're not. And because people manipulated you and made you think that you were something in which you weren't, which is freaking evil and disgusting, man. I mean, that is so messed up. That's the stuff they push. And then they think it's a winning issue. And what's happening with their party, it's imploding because that issue that they think is winning is they want to be able to tell you as a parent that you should affirm your son or daughter's gender when in actuality it's something that it's not. So if you have Johnny that thinks he's Rachel, well, you have to make sure that you call him Rachel, and you have to make sure you buy him dresses and all those other things. And if you don't, well, guess what? We're going to take away your kid. I'm sorry, but that's a losing issue, and that's pretty crazy. That's pretty bonkers that you're going to allow the state, the government, to dictate what is right and wrong. Now, we all can come to some sort of consensus here that you shouldn't abuse your child. We all agree with that. But what's crazy is they don't look at that as abusive. They don't look at that as something that's wrong, which is wild. And then they wonder why we don't take them serious. And then we wonder why we go, yeah, you're a little psycho. You're a little crazy because you're going after children. And it's all connected to children. You guys know that the sex trafficking, the illegal immigration, the losing 130,000 children to forced labor and sex trafficking. You notice it's all revolved around children and race. They've never changed. Even Charlemagne the God blast Democrat governor for focusing on losing issue of trans identifying athletes. This is all about Maine, where he comes on a podcast and he blasts Maine's governor for continuing to push the biological males in female sports. There was an issue where a biological male, most recently, I think it was for basketball or something, was sick. And so he couldn't make the game and he was playing in a women's league. Guess what happened to his team? They lost by 26 points. If he was on it, they would have won. Amazing how that works out. So we got this here.
Talking about trans athletes, like that is a losing talking point. America's not with it, and they keep making a micro or macro with that conversation. It impacts such a small group of people, but it makes a whole lot of people think folks lack common sense. So why are they even having that conversation? And I can't believe it's states that still want to die on that hill. Like none of these states have a high percentage of trans athletes. So what's the issue?
Maybe it's just protecting the overall arching issue of trans rights, or that's still an ongoing thing. That's still a developing issue.
I don't know the probability, but I'm sure it's a higher probability of most people don't want men playing in women's sports, especially if they have daughters that practice, right. And that I'm sure the probability is pretty high.
It's just not a high percentage of trans athletes in the country. Period.
Right.
So I know state to state it has to be even.
Can we just come out and say that trans isn't a real thing? It's not. It's just most recently become a thing. You can't transition. It's not possible. You cannot go from a male to a female and back and forth. You can't do it. It is not a thing. And they go, well, I've seen these debates. There'll be a trans person talking to somebody else, doesn't matter who it is, and go, well, you're looking at a trans person. No, I'm not. I'm looking at a cross-dresser. That's all I'm looking at. And we had a term for it for like decades. You're just a cross-dresser. You're just a man cross-dressing as a woman. That's all you are. You put on a bunch of makeup, you put on a dress, and now you think you're a woman, but you're not. And I know they want to find that confirmation bias. I know they want somebody to affirm them because then it gives more of a reality of who they are. And I don't think it's right to lie to people. And if I'm lying to any of my viewers, I'm not doing it consciously. I'm not doing out of forcefulness or maliciousness. It would be like an unacknowledged lie of like, oh, I didn't realize I was lying. As far as I'm aware, let somebody know if the science has changed, but you were born a man or a woman. And even if you're intersex, there is more of one that's more developed than the other. So I don't know what they're going to do. I'll tell you what, the party's falling apart. The Democrat Party is just turning to shreds. And what's happening right now is donors are pulling out, or they're freezing their money because they're like, I don't know if I can support this. I don't know if I can continue to do this. Check this out. Democrat donors are pulling funding from the party. The party is effing terrible. I've been saying that for years, and they're just waking up to it. I think they're waking up to the fact of, I think things have gone too far. We all thought this is what people want, but the reason why they thought this is what people wanted was because it was completely fabricated. And how was it fabricated? Well, as you're seeing from Doge, Elon Musk is uncovering the fact that the legacy media, from the education system to every facet of culture, and we all know politics is downstream of culture, we all know that it was being puppeted, it was being pushed falsely by this money that was being contributed unknowingly by the taxpayers. It was completely made up. It was a complete sham. It was a scam. It was a lie, a money laundering scheme. It was all make believe. And when you have the media promulgating this for years on end, if not a decade or decades, at some point they say, if you say it long enough, a lie will become truth, even though at the base of itself, it is still a lie. And that's what they were doing for quite some time, and it's been exposed. And now they're realizing everything I believed in, well, that might not be legit. I don't know if that's right. Because you had this small group of people, these psychos, the bureaucrats, these unelected officials promulgating this narrative that was completely bogus. And people weren't willing to give up truth. They weren't willing to sacrifice what was objectively true and has been since human existence. And now they don't know what to do as a party because people aren't believing in their scam anymore. They don't know what to do because you have Elon Musk and Doge, along with now Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, baby, in the FBI that are going to expose even more. We haven't even seen anything yet, and we will. Several Democrat donors said this week that they have paused their donations to the party because of how weak and ineffective it has become in the wake of President Donald Trump's return to office. Quote, I'll be blunt here. The Democrat Party is effing terrible. Plain and simple, a major Democrat donor told The Hill. And in fact, it doesn't get much worse. Well, it might be, because they don't even have a front runner. They're talking speculation about Harris AOC ticket. That's the best they got. They have no bench. Think about all the people in the country you could possibly pick from. That's the best they got. I hope they run that ticket. God, I hope. A second donor told the publication that they were equally as turned off as about the party. They want us to spend money. And for what? For no message, no organization, no forward thinking. The thing that's clear to a lot of us is that the party never really learned its lesson from 2016. They worked off the same playbook and the same ineffective strategies. And to what end? Right. And it wasn't even a strategy. The playbook was to take your money and create a narrative that was completely false and tried to get people to believe in it. ESG scores, socialism is good, communism isn't that bad. Let's create an organization called Black Lives Matter that's ran by Marxists. And let's funnel money into that from the taxpayer dollars. Let's utilize legacy media to give that confirmation bias that this is what Americans really believe in, when in actuality they don't. So much so that we'll falsify poll numbers so that they believe in it and go, wow, maybe other people do really think this stuff is legit. Turns out, no. And you want to know who took a hammer to that? This man right here, the greatest president in modern history, Donald J. Trump. He took the hammer. He took freaking Thor's Milner and just whacked the crap out of the media and the Democrat Party, and they're collapsing. They have nobody to run it anymore. Nobody likes Nancy Pelosi. She fell recently, broke a hip, and now she's just waddling around with her face melting off. And they got Chuck Schumer. He don't have a clue what the hell's going on. You're looking at AOC with the Green New Deal and goes, let's get rid of every fossil fuel thing that exists and we'll rebuild every building. She doesn't know how money works. She was a bartender, didn't learn anything. She doesn't know how to count money as a bartender. She just probably drank the alcohol. And you got freaking Kamala Harris, who ran California to the ground. She was vice president and couldn't even control the border. And then when we give her a small project like just campaigning, she couldn't even budget the campaign correctly. She had no messaging. She had no way of fixing the country. Congress didn't even like her. She was the most progressive person in Congress. And how do you think things would have been if she was in office? Not very good. And now that we got the man in office, he's getting hostages free. He's turning America around. He's making America great again. Donald Trump is working 24/7 to turn this country, this ship around, to make it great again. And he's doing that in the form of, let's figure out the border. Let's lock it up. You ain't coming in. We got to deal with what's happening here. And we're going to remove you if you came here illegally. If you're a criminal raping people, you're going to be first to go. Then he's looking at Doge. How can we cut the spending? How can we expose the bureaucracy this managerial class, these unelected officials, and get them the hell out of here. And he's looking at that right now. Also, you have him now getting Kash Patel and the FBI into the mix to look at not just the stuff that took place in 2016 and 2020, but also present time, and start doing a little bit more of investigations here and maybe start prosecuting people. And he's also doing it the form of negotiations here of not just getting hostages out of Gaza, Ukraine, and hell of other places, but dealing with Ukraine, to be specific. Gaza, as well as the rest of the world. I think I said get hostages out of Ukraine, but that's because we're segueing here right now, where negotiations could bring a quick end to war in Ukraine if we're smart. I think Donald Trump's realizing this is a little bit more of a hardcore chess game than he realized. Russia is a superpower. It's not exactly like Mexico or Colombia where you can just push them around any way you feel like. Putin has a spine. Putin is he's a tough guy. And he knows that he has a lot of cards. And Donald Trump knows that Putin has a lot of cards. And he's trying to work the deal, and it ain't easy. And now you're realizing why Joey couldn't do it. Joe didn't even bother calling because Joe's like, there's no way I could do it. President Donald Trump seemed optimistic on Monday that the war between Russia and Ukraine could be brought to an end quicker, provided all parties involved in negotiations were smart about it. People need to stop dying. And hopefully Putin wakes up, and I hope he feels the same way. But we'll see. Here's Trump.
I think the war could end soon. Within weeks. Yeah, I think so. Right? Don't you think so? I'd like to have you. I think we could end it within weeks if we're smart. If we're not smart, it'll keep going, and we'll keep losing young, beautiful people that shouldn't be dying. And we don't want that. And remember what I said. This could escalate into a third world war. And we don't want that either. I think the war could end soon.
And I hope Trump does figure it out. Now, here's the thing. He said the war was going to end before he took office. I just want to remind people of that. Now, is that a jab at Trump? Yes, it is. But it's also to prove that Trump says a lot of things. And I think he has a lot of ambition to get things done quicker than what's realistic. And I think we should hold his feet to the fire. And I think it's important to sometimes have goals that might not be achievable in the time span that's given, but it's still working towards that achievability at the end result. So he's pushing himself and wanting things to get done before he got in office. He's still pushing himself to make sure it's done as quickly as possible, but you have to be smart about it. He's moving chips around, not easy negotiations. And, quite frankly, he's only been in office for a little more than a month. And mind you, as much as he was ready at noon or 2 o'clock on Inauguration Day to get the ball rolling, it still takes time to assemble your team. I mean, hell, he just got Kash Patel in this week, a month later. So a lot of stuff still needs to be had, and a lot has been had in the first month here. We still got 3 years and 11 months of this man. Thank God. Now you might be wondering, Brad, man, you're on it today, man. You got a lot of energy. What the hell is going on? How do you do it? Y'all know we're a morning show, and y'all know we drink coffee. We drink the good stuff. Have you heard about the recent advertising scandal? Let me break it down for you, Patriots. The CEO of Rumble, the gladiator, Chris Pavlovsky, recently released an email from Inspire Brands and Dunkin' Donuts. The email explicitly stated that right-wing culture of Rumble is too polarizing. It's too much. In other words, Dunkin' Donuts has a problem with right-wing culture and wants nothing to do with it or Rumble. So here's the solution. Stop buying products that don't support you and start supporting brands that do support you. The competing coffee brand that we all need to get behind is Rumble's $17.75 coffee for a limited time. Rumble's offering 2 bags. This is one of my favorite deals. 2 bags of coffee and you get one free. Go to Rumble's 1775coffee.com and enter promo code Duncan to get this limited time deal. Again, that's 1775coffee.com, promo code Duncan with a capital D, and you will get 2 bags of coffee and 1 for free today, folks. And it goes quick because we're all a morning show, and if we drink coffee each and every day like I do, well, you're going to go through it quick. And what's great is it's the same price as the normal coffee you buy. It just tastes better. You're getting a better product for the same deal. It's worth your time and money, folks. As a coffee connoisseur, as somebody that loves wet my whistle, and I drink it dark, by the way, meaning I'm actually getting the flavor. Those that put the creamer, and our little girly men, and put sugar in it, that ain't me. That ain't me. Some of you might be saying, well, Brad, at least I got a full head of hair. What now, man? Well, I got nothing for you on that one, okay? You also, we have a good time here. Speaking of that, if you're having a good time, hit that like button. If you feel like we deserve your subscription, it's absolutely free, by the way. Just hit that follow button, hit the subscribe. We do have a join. We have a membership both on Rumble and YouTube. And we would love for you to subscribe and join us that way. And all the money and proceeds goes 100% back into the show. Well, speaking of French President Macron meeting with Donald Trump and talking about Ukraine, he tells Trump to be careful in the negotiation process to end Russia's war in Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron, whenever I read that, I kind of want a Macron, praised U.S. President Donald Trump for taking steps to end Russia's war against Ukraine, but warned the commander-in-chief to be careful in the negotiation process. We want peace, and I think the initiative of President Trump is a very positive one, but my message was to say, be careful because we need something substantial, for Ukraine. I think the arrival of President Trump is a game changer, and I think he has the deterrence capacity of the U.S. to re-engage with Russia. Well, it didn't take much. I mean, Donald Trump just had to pick up the phone and call Putin, which Joey wasn't willing to do. Macron, who met with Trump just the other day, said the U.S. and France need to work together to determine lasting future security negotiations. That also brings me into, well, what are you doing in terms of those negotiations? Because we're the ones that are kind of paying for all your defense. Like, we need to be careful, but you need to be more careful than we do because you're the one that's over there, dude. Not us. We have a giant freaking ocean between us and Europe. So you're the ones that are kind of more in trouble than we are. And that leads me to this right here, where Macron is vowing Europe will more fairly contribute aid after Trump meeting warns Ukraine peace must be checked and verified. Trump told him, look, bro, you're the one that's going to be effed here. You're about to F around and find out if you don't start putting in some real money here. For some reason, we're funding this thing and we're not even in that much of a threat as you guys are. French President Emmanuel Macron said Monday that Europe is well aware that it needs to do more for its own security and defense in response to Russia's war on Ukraine. If you're aware of it, then why haven't you done it? Isn't that worse? It's one thing to not be contributing and not being aware of it. At least there's a case to be made of like, oh yeah, you're our friend and ally. Like, I get it. Like, I don't understand why you didn't see it, but I'm glad that you're aware of it now and you're willing to contribute. It's worse that not only do they claim to be your ally and your friend, but they actually saw that they weren't willing to contribute and take care of the matter, especially when they're the ones that are more at risk than we are. It actually makes it worse because they were aware of it. It's like when somebody says something rude to you and they did it on purpose versus somebody that said something rude to you, but they didn't realize that they were actually being rude and then it just came across the wrong way. Vastly different thing. I also want to be very clear, Mr. President, in Europe's commitment, Macron said, we have committed to build a lasting peace. As Europeans, we have committed to being stakeholders in these security guarantees. We'll see about that. And we are also well aware that Europeans need to do more for security in Europe for defense. Yeah, I would say so. In Europe, and to more fairly share the security burden that your country has been carrying for so many years, decades. Matter of fact, since World War II. Now, there's a case to be made that, we ran roughshod in World War II. We destroyed a bunch of stuff. But, so did Germany. Maybe Germany should contribute a little bit more. But no, you'd rather bring in all these immigrants from different nations that are changing your culture. When they change your culture, they change your politics. When they change your politics, well, it turns out, things go south really quick. And that doesn't mean that there aren't immigrants that can bring great things to somebody's culture and that you should inherit those great things from said culture. But there's a lot of negative things that really happen where people aren't assimilating into the creeds and values of all these different Western cultures like democracy, and they're really ruining it for people. And you're seeing that especially in Europe, where Europe's being taken over and they're really a shell of what they used to be. And quite frankly, I'm not even sure if they really have the money to contribute in the way that they need to sustain that security that they need for themselves, because they've been clearly receiving a lot of our money through embezzlement that we didn't know about. And speaking of that, speaking of money, EPA, Doge, cut nearly, it's a lot of money, $70 million in Biden-era grants to green groups. This was a massive money laundering scheme over the fictitious movement called climate change. Remember how it was global warming for a bit? Remember how even in the 70s, not even that long ago, they're like, oh, the world's going to cool. It's going to freeze. We're all going to die. And then they started going with Al Gore. Oh, look at the polar ice caps are melting. Look at all the glaciers are gone. Right? He did his whole documentary, and then people started pushing global warming. We're going to be dead in 2 years. It's like back in like the 90s. We're all still here. And then you have AOC and Greta Thunberg coming out going, screw you, we're all going to die in 5 years now. We're still standing here. The oceans are going to flood. California's going to be gone. Psychos. So it was all a front to launder money, basically, for an initiative that doesn't actually change anything. So the EPA and the government of efficiency have cut tens of millions of dollars directed under former President Joe Biden to left-wing green groups. And then all that's going to do is be funneled into their leadership, these nonprofits, these groups within themselves, and nothing actually gets resolved. Where you've really seen this kind of effect, and we've talked about it before, is in California. California has a massive homeless crisis. And you've had this governor, probably heard of him, Newscum. He's an idiot. He's also a Democrat and progressive lefty and just a scumbag. He took our money and gave it to a bunch of his friends. And his friends said, hey, we'll start up these nonprofits. Just go ahead and funnel us millions, if not billions of dollars over the course of a decade, and we'll resolve this issue for you. We'll figure out the homeless crisis. Guess what? Nothing's happened. If in fact, we have over a quarter of the homeless population in one county. We have like half the country's homeless population in one state. It's only gotten worse since he's done that. It's a money laundering scheme. It's all corrupt. The whole party's corrupt. And that's why nobody wants to funnel money into it anymore, because it's all being exposed. The Biden administration has awarded the funds through grants to a slew of environmental and activist groups. Oh, there you go. Case in point. The grants totaled, geez, look at that money, $77.1 million. But the EPA froze $67.4 million in payments yet to be made, according to the New York Post. Well, thank God for that. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin has welcomed DOJ officials into his agency. Doors are open, boys. Come on in. Trash cans are over there. Shredders are there. Get rid of it all. Can we just get rid of the EPA? Can we actually just, like they're going to do with the basically Department of Education, can we just get rid of the EPA in the same way? That'd be great. There's a bunch of money savers. We don't need it. They go out and roam around and prounce around in their freaking fairy outfits and tell you that you can't dig a hole in your backyard because it's ruining the environment. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin welcomed DOJ into his agency to comb through spending programs and systems looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. Oh, they're going to find a lot of it in the EPA. The EPA was just a front organization to promulgate leftist policies, leftist ideas that actually hindered the growth of the United States of America and only puppeted up places like China, India, and others that are actually polluting the world in a way bigger scale than we ever were. The administrator touted the cuts to the environmental grants as another example of wasteful spending, ending with the Trump administration. Thank God. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to DOJ. And you know what, Lee? Thank you as well, Lee Zeldin. Thank you for opening your doors to DOJ so they can kick the ass out of the EPA. And I hope there's a lot of firings. I hope there's a lot of let-goes. And I hope that a lot of cuts are made so that we can make America great again and stop businesses from, having to shutter their doors in some cases or not progress in the way that they could have if the EPA, didn't exist. I think they'd be a lot better off. Speaking of other stuff Trump is doing, Trump approved Elon's productivity email that's just going viral right now. The emails have been sent. People are coming out saying, I got the email. We're trying to find out if people are working. I'm telling you, they're not working. Even the government officials, people working in government, they're not. And by the way, I think a part of this too is to see how money is being funneled to possibly people that don't exist. One of the things that you can launder money, move it around in some way, shape, or form is fabricating people through Social Security, basically filling information on behalf of somebody else or puppeting up a fake person and cashing checks through them and then, moving it around in that way. So some of these government officials might actually not even be legit, or they are legit and they aren't legitimately working. So they were hired, but they were hired just to basically get a check. You saw this with X, and this is something that Elon Musk, I think, found out that not only a lot of companies are doing and did, like Google, Apple, but also X, or also formerly known as Twitter, but also our federal government is notorious for this, of hiring people, bloating it, but you don't actually need that person. There's a lot of people that will only work half days. They have nothing else to do. Why? Because it's so bloated that you have more people than you need, where you can lay a guy off and give that workload to somebody else, and now you just saved money. So a lot of people aren't doing anything in the federal government, and that's why 96% of them aren't showing up to the office. Why? Because they have nothing to do. Let them go. On Monday, President Donald Trump endorsed the email announced by Elon Musk that told federal employees to list 5 examples of what they accomplished in the past week. I thought it was a great idea because we have people that don't show up to work and nobody even knows if they work for the government. Yes. So by asking the question, tell us what you did last week, what he's going to say, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, you're sort of semi-fired or or you are fired. Folks, I don't know why this is such a big deal to government employees. I would like to point out that when I was an accountant, I had to allocate what I did every 15 minutes. And I mean that in all literal sense. Anybody, like Jeff would know because Jeff's an auditor. When I was a tax accountant, even when I went into auditing, assurance, and advisory accounting, I had to actually list out and allocate my time to say if I was to go get a cup of coffee and legitimately in the kitchen. And I was in there and I ran into a coworker, let's say, and I was just having a short-term conversation with them, like a little 15 minutes. Well, then I would hit, in terms of the budget on my time allocated for that 15 minutes, even if it was 10 minutes, you would round up. I would allocate that to general admission or just general. And that would be billed to the company that I was working for. And then let's say I was working on another company and I was working on some sort of review or compilation. Well, however long I was working on that for that time period, I would bill that company. So my work was being tracked. And guess what? If I was auditing a company for cash, and we know usually it takes about a worker, because we've done it for years, about 4 hours to say audit cash and make it up a number. Well, if I hit 5 hours, guess what? There's going to be a conversation. Hey, Brad, why did you hit an hour longer than what's traditionally done on cash? Was there a reason for this? And by the way, sometimes there legitimately is. And you have to express that to your boss in the office going, yeah, they didn't give me the paperwork. They were lagging on it. They couldn't find it, which does happen, by the way. And it's just not your fault. And so you bill them for that extra time. But it's something that's exposed. It's something that's shown of, this is my productivity. This is what I'm doing, and having to explain what you're doing. And for some reason with the federal government, this is a novel idea. It's like, how could you do this? How could you ask me as a boss what I'm doing? What do you mean? It's always that way. I don't think it's out of the realm to ask people, hey, how are you doing? What are you doing? So the Trump administration moves to dismiss 2,000 USAID employees. I think they moved it to 1,600, but we have here on Sunday, February 23rd, the Trump administration announced the dismissal of 2,000 USAID employees. So here they are. Mind you, these people sent money to Mozambique, right? They sent condoms places, allegedly. They wanted to trans dolphins in the Pacific. Just their heroes. Just heroes. Look at that. They're coming back from a tour of duty, folks. Oh, the hugs. They were on the front lines, folks. They were storming the beaches of Normandy. They were sacrificing their lives for the American people. Forever proud. We're going to miss you guys. Wasting our money. We're going to miss you. Come in for a hug, Janet. Come here. Oh, goody. Oh, look at that. They're the leaders. Let's give them a round of applause. Oh, thank you. Oh, I know. We're great. Oh, they're going to miss us. Look at what, did you see the kissing when they came out? Like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, everybody. Oh. Wasting our freaking money. I don't have empathy. I'm sorry, I don't. When I'm finding out what we're spending money on, I don't have empathy for you at all. Now, maybe they weren't even the ones that did it. Find it hard to believe. I mean, the whole thing shut down. You got to know something was going on. I mean, when you've been working for an organization long enough, you know all the shambles that's going on, right? You know all the weird crap that's taking place. Come on. You know when something unethical is occurring. You chose to be a part of it. Now, when things are unethical, you shouldn't follow the things that are unethical. Case in point, what's going on with illegal immigration? Well, it turns out people want to go with the thing that's unethical. And there's actually a party that goes with it. It's called the Democrat Party. It's called the Progressive Left, that want to allow, I keep saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it until it gets resolved by the Democrat Party, when they actually put their head on, when they take it out of their tushy. They want to keep criminals, rapists, murderers, sex traffickers, violent gang members, people that are killing your children, killing your wives and husbands here. And what they're doing is now they're taking anti-ICE agents disrupt LA operations. They're posting photos, folks, names and phone numbers of agents. Somebody is taking these people's names, these ICE agents, these cops basically, and are posting their information on polls. That's a massive security risk, by the way, for you and your family, because now they're going to target you. In the same way, I get death threats for this show. And that's why, let's just say that I believe in my rights. I'll keep it at that. But that's an F around and find out moment. But don't come to me. Don't come to me. Don't be breaking down my door. You'll have something point at you in the face. And you ain't going to make it out alive, let me say. So don't come to my door. But this is dangerous. Flyers showing the names, pictures, and phone numbers of immigration and customs enforcement agents have surfaced in Southern California neighborhood. Multiple federal law enforcement sources confirmed to Fox News national correspondent Bill, I always screw his name up, Milligan? I don't know. He's a great man, though. Covers a lot of illegal immigration. The anti-ICE activists who have been interfering with ICE operations in the Los Angeles area in recent days have now started putting up posters featuring the personal information of ICE and Homeland Security investigation officers working in the Los Angeles and Southern California area. The posters, which were written in Spanish, translated roughly read, "Careful with these faces." The armed agents work in Southern California, ICE and HSI, racially terrorized and criminalized entire communities with their policies. They kidnap people from their homes and from the streets, separating families and fracturing communities. Isn't it astonishing that they're talking about kidnapping people when you actually have illegal immigrants here, physically kidnapping people and selling them off into forced labor and sex slavery? And you're gonna be upset with the good guys that are removing these criminals from the streets? I mean, there's cases where some of these illegal immigrants are actually taking other illegal immigrants and selling them off into forced labor, sex trafficking, or just killing them and raping them. And by the way, nobody's going to know why, because they're not documented. It's insane. Many people have died while locked up in jails, prisons, and detention centers. Give me a break. But you're not concerned about all the other people that have died by these illegal aliens. You're not concerned about the children that are just being shown, and let's say being shown on coming across the border by themselves, but also through coming across the border by themselves, that they are just dying in some cases on that trip, because it's a terrible trip that they have to make. So here's what that flyer looks like. And I don't want to give it too much spotlight because that's people's information on it. But is it illegal? I don't know. But I don't like it. Why? Because what you're going to have is these violent gang members like MS-13 and others. They're going to go out and target these people and their families. And you have a possibility of kidnapping somebody's family member that's an ICE agent or HSI, doesn't matter who it is. And now they have a whole bleep storm on their hands. All thanks because Democrats want to allow this to happen. This is not a Republican conservative. Hell, this isn't even an independent thing. This is strictly a Democrat Party progressive left thing. And this is how disgusting that party has become. And I don't mind calling it out. I don't mind making it a thing, because this is what they're doing. It's dangerous and it's wrong and it's disgusting. And deportation operations have launched at Colony Ridge, targeting criminals and illegal immigrants. And that's who they're starting off with. Now, there's that collateral damage that's taking place that Tom Homan has talked about, where let's say you're going after a criminal and you follow that criminal into a house, and that house has a bunch of illegal immigrants in it. Well, obviously, because you're already there, you're going to take care of the illegal immigrants that are there that shouldn't have been there in the first place, and you're going to kind of deport everybody. But if you're Los Angeles County, if you're California, well, nope, you just get to stay here. And like I said, for some ungodly reasons, Democrats love crime, they love race, they love going after children, they love harming children. I don't know what it is with that party. I've always said, if you're an old school Democrat, you should probably just register as independent. I'm not saying you have to vote Republican. That's not what I'm saying. I get that Republicans don't carry your values in terms of what you think government should be. But in terms of, let's say, protecting children, I think we can all get behind that. I think that's something we all can get behind. I think everybody can get behind the fact you shouldn't be murdering anybody. I think everybody can get behind that you shouldn't be raping anybody. That's common sense. And those people that are doing those things, I think even old school Democrats get that. We should be throwing them in the brig or burying them 6 feet into the ground under a prison, because that's disgusting. It's malicious. It's evil. It's the progressive left side of the Democrat Party that's doing this. And maybe I need to start being more specific, because people think I'm alienating all Democrats. I've always said it. I've said it for years. I'm talking about the progressive left. They're Democrats still. They're registered Democrats. If you're a Democrat, you should probably register as independent, because I'm telling you right now, that party don't carry your values. They don't even do things that are democratic. Hell, look at the way they put Kamala Harris up. You couldn't tell. You're telling me you didn't have anybody better in that party to put up? Tom Homan here, though. And Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced that Colony Ridge Development, a magnet for illegal aliens just north of Houston, is being targeted for deportation operations on Monday. So as of yesterday, by the Department of Homeland Security and the Texas Department of Public Safety. The sprawling development covers 60 square miles and has been the subject of a series of Daily Wire investigations revealing that it systematically attracts illegal aliens through its financial marketing schemes. Colony Ridge is being targeted today, Abbott wrote on X. Texas DPS troopers and special agents are assisting Homeland Security investigations with its operation in that ridge this morning. Good work by Tom Homan. Still not enough. Still not enough. Needs to do way more. Way more. Now, something we didn't cover with Tom Homan that I wanted to was he gave a speech at CPAC, and he kind of went off big time. We'll watch a little bit of it, not much, but here's his CPAC speech.
Don't care.
Oh, let's start over. Sorry.
How you doing? How you doing? Look, let me start out by saying this. If I offend anybody today, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Woo.
Don't care.
Love it.
The media in the back room, I'm sure I'll be reading a lot of hit pieces on me tomorrow. I don't give a shit what you think about me.
I think that's all we need from Tom Homan, right? Now, if you want to watch that again, you go to CPAC and check that out. But he goes on, talks about illegal immigration, talks about the kind of the work they have done, what the expectations are, and how they're going to move forward. They're just not doing the numbers I would like. You have a little bit here in terms of in less than a month, these renewed measures. Homan said illegal crossings have dropped 95%. I love that. You stem the flow. Now, what's taking place, though, is this number here. They've conducted more than 21,000 arrests. That's great because it's removing the criminals from this country, the violent offenders. But in terms of what Joe Biden was allowing into the country was 10,000. Now, I think Joe Biden allowed those types of numbers because he knew, regardless of whether he won or lose, even if he lost, right, which he did, obviously, that he knew that they couldn't remove that many people per day, even if they tried. So as much as Joe Biden wasn't cognizant, his team was, and they knew what they were doing. Some people that don't know what they're doing and can't run certain areas correctly really quickly is that's Hochul. And she threatens to arrest correction officers striking over unsafe work conditions. She's going to go after correction officers striking over unsafe work conditions. Democrat Governor Hochul is threatening New York State correction officers who are striking over unsafe working conditions with arrest if they don't return to their jobs. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Hochul reacted by suing the officers, which ultimately led to her administration directing state troopers to serve papers on striking officers. So following a rise in violent incidents inside state prisons, which officers say is due to Democratic prison reform measures, there you go. Correction officers and sergeants from 2 New York prisons started to protest and strike last Monday. The movement has since swelled in support, and now thousands of officers and sergeants from more than 30 prisons across the state are participating. Why? Because Democrats suck at everything, and they don't want harsh penalties for people that commit crimes. And when you don't have harsh penalties for people that commit crimes, guess what? They commit more crimes. And now so much so that these people have gotten bold inside the prisons where now they're going after the correction officers that are just doing their job, by the way. That's basically supposed to be babysitters and watch these knuckleheads, these criminals that are doing their time for the crimes that they committed. But just like you saw in Los Angeles, just like you saw in the state of California, just like you see in Seattle, Washington, just like you see in Washington, D.C., if you notice a common theme here, they're all Democrat-run areas. They love the crime. They don't want consequences. They don't even want consequences in the education system, which is why you're seeing a deterioration of the culture, which is why I said you're almost on the brinks of a collapse with the Republic. And hopefully Donald Trump could turn it around. But you need law and order. You need to bring the executive branch back, and I believe Donald Trump is doing that. Through not just Kash Patel, not just through Dan Bongino, but also through the DOJ like Pam Bondi. He's bringing America back. He's making DHS, Homeland Security. He's bringing FBI back. He's bringing all the agencies back to actually start executing the laws in the books and bringing order back to the Republic. And it's all thank you to your vote. It's all thank you for you guys tuning into Republican conservative shows like myself and others. It's all due to the American people, the patriots, really, at the end of the day, for voting in Donald Trump to make America great again. Well, Patriots, thank you so much for joining me on this, I almost said Monday show, this Tuesday show. If you're new here, welcome. We would love for you to join us in the live chat each and every morning. As you can see, we got a lot of Patriots over at Rumble And we got a lot of patriots over at YouTube. We are a growing community. We're grassroots. We're not owned by a corporation or anything. It's just us and the patriots here. So if you enjoy what you see, hit that subscribe button or hit us a follow over at Rumble. And if you want to get fancy, you can join us through memberships. It's a 99 cents over at YouTube, $4.99 or $9.99. You kind of pick what you want to do. Or it's $4.99 over at Rumble, which I prefer. But we also have a donation tab over at our website, baldbrad.com, along with links to our book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. It's a phenomenal read, a great gift idea, or even just a coffee holder. You can use it as a what are those called? A coaster. You can use it as a coaster. Don't do that, but if you're not a reader, we'd still love for you to support the show that way. With that being said, I hope you have a lovely day. Pray for this country. Pray for Donald Trump. Pray for the peace negotiations that are going on so that we can get a lot of people's and their lives saved and brought back home. And I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.